Okay, we'll start now. I'll just share my screen. So I've secured All India rank 41 this time, and this was my fourth attempt with UPSC, and I have scored 275 marks in anthropology this time. And as you might have already be aware of, the marks for optionals this time is pretty lower compared to the previous year for every optional for that matter. And I think 296 or 297 is the highest anthropology score this time. And I've scored 135 in paper two and 140 in paper, 135 in paper one and 140 in paper two, which is one of the highest in the country. And I'll be taking you a crash course. So, and with respect to my anthropology preparation, I started it in 2020, back during COVID time. So I joined at Vajiram. There's a faculty there, and I was not impressed with her basically. So, but still, I had enrolled for the course. I had paid the fees, so I had to continue with her. But I wasn't impressed that much. So, my preparation with anthropology started in a hiccup. But later on, I also enrolled for another anthropology course during COVID time, during the lockdown, which was a famous one from Hyderabad back then. But again, it was very disappointing, and I couldn't get what I expected, what the aspirants actually needed for the exam. It was not available from their side also. Then I had to stop enrolling for the courses. I have those bad two experiences. Then I had to start my own preparation. Then I started interacting with toppers. For example, you might be aware, there was Lakshmi ma'am from Karnataka who had secured almost 320 scores, 320 plus in anthropology back in 2020, 2019 or 2020. And I interacted with her, and there were a couple of other more doctors, like my senior doctors, like Dr. Vinay sir and Dr. Melvin sir, and they helped me with uh, the proper strategy and all, what needs to be done and all. And I also over the time, I also the wisdom, the experience helped me to understand what's the exam demands from an aspirant. So even I have my pretty bad experiences with coaching faculties and all, where I had to suffer from their poor service. But later, all these 3 years or 4 years of my dedication, you won't believe, I have almost 3,600 pages of anthropology notes with me. I have seven proper books, and I have made some short notes for majority of the topics, and few I'm yet to make. So this is my entire anthropology strategy. And finally, the algorithm that I finally arrived at, going through all my 4 years of experience, was this. Initially, you need to start with a standard topic. Like, I'm just writing it down here. The algorithm for anthropology preparation. This is anthropology for me. Just look at this. This represents anthropology. So first thing is you need to start with any coaching materials that you might have joined. If not, that is fine. That's not an issue. You can start with standard books. And what I mean by standard books are Ember and Ember, and then you have Pnath, you have LP Vidyarthi, Pnath for physical anthropology, LP Vidyarthi for tribal anthropology, and then there is Vayatsar's book for social anthropology, socio-cultural anthropology. These are the four standard books that I referred to, apart from other, but these are the standard books that you need to refer to. And second thing is, you should go for toppers notes. Already, Akshat Jain sir's top notes is available in the market that you need to go through as a starting, as a basic foundation. And over and above, you need to add from Mandar Patki sir notes, and then Amit Narayan sir notes. And third, you need to integrate with, this is value addition. This value addition process is a continuous process. You need to do it over and above the first two pillars. And value addition, what I mean is you need to integrate current affairs based value addition that you read in your daily Hindu paper, current affairs based value addition, and then model answers given in the test series or daily answer writing. and some research of your own using, there's a website, there's a journal which you can refer to, and there are websites, there are nowadays you can also use AI tools too. But AI tools, I'll share my experience with AI tools over time, how there's a limitation with AI tools. Basically, they're hallucinating and they tend to give you a very wrong information. They tend to create their own stuff, which may not be valid, and you might detect your marks. Matlab, the examiner might detect your marks. So you should be aware with this. So these are the three notes that I refer to, and also I had referred to, I had joined Karandeep Sir's test series back then. So I had to have his notes integrated with my notes also. So basically, these are the major things. Basically, I've done my work from all these four pillars, and I've integrated notes from all these four pillars. So content wise, whatever I'll be providing you will be the best content available, and you need to make use of it. And I'll be sharing you the short notes, basically the value addition keyword based short notes for majority of the topics, which are ready made, and you need to just memorize them and write it out in the examination. And with respect to anthropology as a subject, you need to understand two main things. One, the conceptual understanding of the topics given across paper one and paper two. And second thing is the content, the value addition, which requires the memorization. Anthropology is 50% understanding and 50% memorization. So it's a very good combination of both the stuff. And it's, as you might already be aware of, anthropology is half a humanity and half a scientific discipline. So it's a very good mix of both the disciplines and both the modes of preparation. So you can score well. So coming to the importance of anthropology as an optional. With respect to GS preparation, you might be aware that it's a never-ending process, and sometimes UPSC, although has listed down well for the main syllabus, it's still not completely. It's not full. UPSC can still ask so many different questions that you might not even expect UPSC to ask. But with respect to optionals per se, the syllabus is very well defined, and anthropology as an option has a very good material availability and also guidance, mentorship availability. So you need to make use of it. Even what the UPSC board or the UPSC commission expects from students is simple. For GS, it should be like you should be writing a general, as the notification says, you should be writing what a good, well aware student can write about a given question. But with respect to optional, you need to have a expertise of that of a honorary degree, like somewhere of a master's degree with anthropology, and you need to bring out the best thinkers, the best case studies, and everything. So the expectations of UPSC out of optional answers is pretty much higher, and but at the same time the reward is also higher. You can't be sure of your GS marks, but you can always almost be sure of your optional marks. So please dedicate 50% of your preparation time for your optional. Although you'll be marks wise, optional will be giving you around 500 out of total 1750 marks. But with respect to the weightage or the real time marking, you are almost getting a equal amount of marks from the anthropology as an optional. So you need to dedicate equal amount of time. That is one thing I need to convey. I wanted to convey to you people. So don't neglect anthropology as an optional and do well. And second thing, considering my own experience, this time, just a week before mains papers for GS, I wasn't confident of my preparation with respect to GS because it was a never-ending thing, and I was not sure to what extent I had done my revision, to what extent I had covered the syllabus, to what extent I was having a hold over value additions, and so on. So, but nonetheless, with I'll tell you, like if time permits, if we can do those strategy sessions for GS papers towards the end of the course, I'll be doing them. I'll be elaborating on them further during those sessions. But even with that mediocre preparation, I was able to score around 427 marks in GS papers across GS1, GS2, GS3, and GS4. And I scored 120 marks in essay. But I was pretty confident with my anthropology optional preparation. Although as to an extent, memorization and everything, there was still a lack. And but what I'm trying to say is, if you can invest the right amount of efforts in anthropology, that will give you confidence even to write GS papers and ace the mains examination. And so I was not pretty much confident, but looking at the GS papers this time, they were more on a applied side, and that suits my style actually. I like to write answers to the questions which are applied rather than which comes directly from the static part or the study materials. So I was able to do that. uh, but with respect to anthropology, as you might be aware of, anthropology paper one was pretty decent or moderate this time, but paper two was completely difficult. But my understanding, conceptual understanding, and ready-made value additions that I had in my hand helped me get 140 marks in paper two this time. So those are the two things. One is conceptual understanding and value additions at hand, like memorization of value additions at hand. These are the two important things to start with. And going back to the thing, and I'll be identifying the conceptual topics from each syllabus point, and I'll be explaining them, and the factual topics and the topics which doesn't have any conceptual understanding required, I'll be sharing you the notes. Okay, so I'll be trying to complete this in 20 live interactive sessions. And as requested by the academy, I'll be conducting a 5 strategy sessions for each essay, GS1, GS2, GS3, and GS4. Okay. And we'll be trying to complete the syllabus. And according to the current tentative plan, it is 14 sessions for paper one, because we have a lot of concepts in the paper one actually, and 6 classes for paper two. Okay. And I'll also be sharing the handouts or sometimes the notes itself. So that is one thing. So the conceptual clarity and decoding the syllabus as relevant for the examination. We'll also have a simultaneous PYQ analysis of the topics. I hope you already understand why PYQ matters, because without PYQ analysis, you won't understand what the exam demands, what are the hot areas, how UPSC is asking questions from them, and what are the trending areas UPSC tend to touch. So, to understand that, you need to have this PYQ understanding, and also you need to write answers for all PYQs. I'll be discussing on that further. So that is another thing that we'll be doing. We'll try to identify the patterns, the common themes, on the style of UPSC, that is PYQ analysis of the topics. And then we'll be having answer writing mastery sessions, specialization across different topics. Basically, I'll be trying to help you out with the answer writing structure. What I believe nowadays is, see, the basic structure of any answer writing is introduction, body, and conclusion. But nonetheless, you must understand that every topics, for example, physical anthropology will need to have a different answer writing structure compared to a social cultural anthropology. Okay. And paper two may Indian anthropology need to have a different structure from a tribal anthropology point of view. So I'll be trying to teach you those different answer writing styles for different parts of anthropology, and also we'll try to specialize on how to write introduction, conclusion over time. So I'll be conducting 2 daily answer writing sessions. So I'll be giving you questions for the day, and you need to write the answers, and then we'll have a discussion of the model answers for the same questions the next day. Okay. And we'll try to how see how to improve upon it. Okay. And then we'll write, this is the daily 2 answer writing sessions that we'll be doing. And then we'll have a toposcopy analysis once in a while. So I'll try to show you what works in the examination and what toppers are doing themselves. And believe me, toposcopies are the treasure hunt. Without like you need not read much from the new materials or the new sources on a day-to-day basis. What you need to do is learn from the answer writing style of the toppers. So I'll be showing you my own copies and few selected toppers that I have shortlisted, and we'll be doing the analysis as we go on with respect to the daily answer writing sessions. And then we'll have a extra, I'll be providing you this extra edge value addition materials for both the papers. So and then we'll have a toppers personalized mentorship, doubt solving sessions we'll have towards the end. I'll be available in Hyderabad for 3 offline sessions. So you can come directly meet me and show your doubts, show your answer copies, ask your doubts, and get your copies evaluated also. And then we have a paper one and paper two grand test where I'll be providing you detailed evaluation. So this is what the course entails, as you might be aware of. Okay. And I also have a few expectations out of syllabus, out of few students. One thing is, I didn't write it here, but now I'm making it obvious here. I need you to speak up. I need you to interact. Otherwise, it will be monologue. It will be of no use to you. I need you to interact. I need you to speak up. And second thing is, you need to cover the syllabus once because this is a crash course. I won't be able to cover the entire topics altogether. I'll be selecting the high yielding topics, the most important ones, and I'll be teaching them. I'll be discussing them. It's not teaching, I'll be discussing them. But before attending the class, I need you to cover the syllabus for the day. Just go through it once and have that basic minimum understanding. And second thing is commitment to the classes. I need you to show up on a day-to-day basis. This is what differentiate toppers from other students, if I'm being frank. I just showed up every single damn day. I didn't give up. Although I might not have studied consistently with like 10 plus hours on every single day, but I made sure that I showed up on every single day for the preparation, even if it was for 2 hours, doesn't matter. You need to show that you're preparing on every single day. So please show your commitment to the classes. We'll start every day exactly at 1:30 p.m. and it will go on till 3:30 p.m. So please be committed to the classes. And third thing is trust in the process. Like whatever I'm trying to say, it's out of lot of experiences, lot of failures. I've identified what works and what doesn't. See, one thing that differentiate me from other toppers or fellow aspirants is I'm very methodological in my preparation. I have documented my preparation, so I've done it like I've tried to find that method in the madness for the UPSC examination. So trust in the process, trust in whatever I'm trying to convey to you. Like if this, for example, just initially I showed you the algorithm for the preparation, and what I meant by algorithm was you need to do it in a stage wise. The first stage is you need to do the standard textbooks, like for example, the Ember and Ember and the Peanut and so and so, or any standard textbooks or any coaching material ka videos which are available. And second thing is you need to refer to the toppers copies and 3 4 toppers copies I mentioned. And third thing is you need to constantly add on the value addition materials, and they from the current affairs or from the model answers that you'll be writing in the tests. So these three things should be happening. These are the three structures. One should happen over the above. Since I have done all that of all those things myself, I'll be readily giving them the content readily to you. Coming to the class timings, we'll be conducting the classes from 1:30 to 3:30, as I already mentioned. And if there are any adjustments or any exigencies for myself to attend to, I'll just inform a day before. Since most of you are not giving mails this time, I believe you can be little flexible in our schedule. But nonetheless, I I'm starting the class today on 25th June, and we'll be trying to wind it up by 17th July. Okay, we'll try to wind it up by 17th July, 20 classes, and later the 5 strategy classes we'll be doing it on in offline mode. I'll be available in Hyderabad. We'll be doing it in offline mode, and that we'll be doing after a week or so. So 17th July, 7 days or 10 days ka break will take, and then we'll come to this GS ka strategy sessions. Is that fine? Is that fine with everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
right. This is the current mode. And then coming to the mode of the classes, initially, I'll be reading out the syllabus. I'll be discussing the PYQs because that will give you an idea. That will show you the direction that UPSC is following. So PYQs are basic, will act as a compass to our preparation. So we'll discuss the PYQs. We'll do the analysis, and then I'll be discussing the model answers for the 2 questions that I had shared in the previous day. Okay, and later we'll discuss the important concepts for a given topic where I need you people to interact with me so that to make it more meaningful. See, there is something called as Feynman technique. Okay, and Richard Feynman is a famous Nobel laureate and a physics is a very well-known theoretical physicist, and he says that only when a teacher interact with students, then only both teacher benefits and students benefits. Okay. And that Feynman technique is where a teacher will try to interact with students, and teacher and student both will dive deep into the concepts. And I want to teach you in that mode. So please cooperate, and we'll have that conceptual discussions. And third thing is I'll give you the syllabus decoding for the rest of the topics, because I'll not be able to teach you all the topics, will not be able to discuss every topics. So I'll be discussing the topics that requires conceptual understanding, but for the rest of the topics which needs memorization, which needs factual understanding, I'll be listing out them, and I'll be giving you the content. I'll be listing out them, and you need to prepare on your own. And finally, I'll give you the two daily practice questions that you need to do on a regular basis. And there's another commitment that you people need to show, like you need to make it time bound. Okay, I'm repeating it, you need to make it time bound. Initially it is fine, even if you start writing answers in a open book format, or even if you're taking more than 20 minutes to write a 10 marker, all this is fine. But over time you need to arrive at 7 minutes time framework to write 10 marker, and 11 minutes to write 15 marker, and 14 minutes to write 20 marker questions. Okay, I hope you understand. So you should write your answer, and also mention the time that you're taking for each answer. That is a commitment that you need to show. Okay. So this is about the mode of classes. Any doubts till now with respect to the features and the modes of the classes?
No,
Any
sir.
doubts, students?
No, sir.
Okay. So we'll go with the answer rating strategy. Okay. I've just mentioned here few toppers to follow, few toppers copies to follow. Anudeep sirs, I had followed. Ashwamithal diagrams were available. She's the topper that you can see. Lakshmi ma'am, Shubham Kumar sir, Narayana Amit sir, Ishant, and Vinay Gadge sir. And other topics like Wasim Muhammad Bhatt is also there. We'll have a discussion on the toppers copies analysis. I'll be showing his copies also. These are the few toppers that you should follow. And also this time we can follow my topper copies also. And also you can follow my friend Rangamanju. He's a rank 24, and he has scored 151 in paper one. So you can follow his paper copies also. I'll show you myself. So these are the different things that you need to follow. Okay, so coming to the strategy, one thing is, what is important is minimum but concrete learning. Okay, and I was a student as a fellow aspirant. I was suffering from this perfectionism. I was diving too much deep into the topics. I was studying as if I'm preparing for some academic research or something, but that shouldn't be the case. All these three main attempts that I have given, one thing it has taught me as a main mantra is this. It is, you need to have a minimum but a solid content for the each topics, but you should focus more on the revision. So that is the mantra. You should have a minimum content but a concrete content. You should focus on the revision. Revision requires mnemonics, whatever, all those memorization devices that you need to take help with, and as fluid application. Without fluid application, you'll not be able to ace paper like paper two this time. Okay. So you should have that understanding. Second thing is you need to memorize. And third thing you need to apply. This is how you should work with every single syllabus topics. And as Shubham sir used to say, like he's a rank one, and he had anthropology as an optional. And he used to say innovation and uniqueness is highly rewarded in the UPSC as it differentiates your answers from the others. So write like an anthropologist. So UPSC, this is also my experience too. UPSC tries to differentiate the answers which has that creativity component in it, that has uniqueness in it from the others. So always have this mindset of bringing that uniqueness and innovation to your answer copies. So you can show your understanding through analysis. I used to write as a student of anthropology and all that. But we'll see. Like I'll be elaborating on it further. So this is what I used to do. Like these are the leftover works. Matlab, since I told you already, I was very methodological. I was very systematic in my preparation. I used to note down everything. So, for example, I need to do some leftover works. I need to maintain this. Like there was few Telegram things that I had to do, some YouTube channels, LP Vidyarthi book revisions. This is all I had to do. This is not relevant for you people. Just I need to document. I'll show it later. So, coming to Anthro test learnings, first thing is you should always be aware of this real-time scenario. real life examination scenario, because what you write in a comfortable environment inside your room, inside the class, is entirely different from is entirely a different ball game from what you would face in the actual competition, actual examination. So you should always simulate a real life examination scenario as much as possible. So you need not overthink about nuances. Okay, you need to reproduce and complete the paper. That should be the priority. Okay, completion of the paper. Most of the students even won't even complete the paper. So you need to complete the paper and then simplify and memorize as simple as possible. And overdoing notes is equal dangerous. See, as underdoing is equally dangerous, similarly, overdoing your notes is also equally dangerous. So you should have minimum but quality content. That is the actual demand of the paper, of the examination. And you need to do daily factual revision for 30 minutes. You need to develop the ability to interlink the topics and apply whatever you have learned. See, obviously UPSC doesn't have any standard textbooks from which UPSC will be asking questions, right? So you need to learn that skill of applying. Even if the question is very, you don't know much about the question, you need to use the knowledge that you already have, the accumulated knowledge, and present it in a better way. So we will be learning that skill over time. But these are the three things which is important that you need to do on a daily basis. One thing is the daily factual revision for 30 minutes, because anthropology as a subject, as a discipline, is highly uh, rote memory based. Okay, you need to memorize a lot, and don't fall into the traps that says that anthropology, you can cover anthropology in 30 like 30 days or 3 months. It's like it has a very short syllabus. These are the different myths, I believe, because it the number of students taking anthropology is pretty higher. Okay, so on an average every year, around 2000 students from anthropology will be writing out of 12,000 students that will be writing mains. This is a number 1,500 to 2,000 students will be writing. So, to differentiate your answers, and believe me, anyone who are giving mains are almost equally well prepared. Okay, so to differentiate your answers from those 1,500 students, you need to stand out. And how do you need to stand out? I'll show you the path. But to stand out, you need to put that extra effort. Okay, and that extra effort will start from this. You need to revise your factual content on a daily basis for 30 minutes, and you need to learn the skill of interlinking and applying whatever you learned. And you need to understand what makes anthropology anthropology. That is, to make an answer anthropology specific. Okay, you need to bring in thinkers, concepts, cultural aspects, anthropological perspectives. And there are four cardinals of anthropology. It's like holism, cultural relativism, all those stuff. We'll be discussing that. Then there are concepts, there are theories, there are anthropospecific vocabularies, there are thinkers, there are case studies. Okay, even you can apply the GS based knowledge like facts, examples, and case studies and make it anthropological by mentioning the thinkers. We'll be discussing answer and we'll be having a better understanding of this as we go ahead. Okay, so this is another thing. And next thing is solving PYQs is most important than reading new books cover to cover. Please understand this. If you can solve the PYQs in a Q&A format, you'll be scoring almost uh, readily 250 to 260 marks easily. I'll be elaborating on it further. But these are the these are the anthro test learnings that I had made it noted down. Okay, we'll have a proper strategy discussions later. This is after writing many tests, after giving many test series. This is what I've learned as a wisdom. And Ember say you need to have 1 point and 5 thinkers, which can be commonly used across topics. For example, for physical anthropology, for genetics, there are few thinkers. So if you can shortlist them, you can use it across the papers also. This is called a smart bluffing. Okay, I'm being recorded, but I'm still being I'm and this is like a secret that toppers do not tend to share, but I'm willing to share it here. You need to do that smart bluffing, because even the evaluators are not that well read to have that 360-degree knowledge of every single question that will be asked in the examination. So if you can bluff yourself, if you can smartly bluff yourself, using the authentic, credible thinkers' names, case studies, and apply them, reuse them. Believe me, that will help you to score higher no matter the difficulty level of the given paper of a given year. So you need to learn the skill of smart bluffing. And initial impression is must, and you need to keep it. That's why the 10 markers must be aced. Okay. So anything without lack of content can never be an excuse for 10 markers. I agree. For 10 markers, there will be couple of bouncers, but except those couple of bouncers in other questions, you need to give an impression to the examiner that you are a smart student, you are a hardworking student, you are a topper, you are a topper material basically. So you need to showcase it in the first 10-15 minutes, or in the first 10 markers itself. See, believe me, the evaluators also suffer from the biases as commonly suffered by other humans. So the initial impression, the first impression, everything matters. So you need to ace those 10 markers. And you need not bombard scholars or thinkers everywhere. After a while, that doesn't add you much. The marginal utility of extra bombarded thinkers and scholars will not add you much. So you need to be very careful in using limited but a good number of thinkers. I would say that for every paragraph or every point, for example, if you're writing 10 to 12 points for a 10 marker, you need to mention hardly 6 to 7 thinkers. Okay, so every point, if you can mention a thinker, every point, if you can bring in some value addition, not just a thinker, but any value addition for that matter, that's a good enough. You need not overdo it. You need not bombard your answers with it. And then work on your presentation. And what I mean by presentation, and this is very much important, I'll be elaborating on it further. But believe me, presentation is what makes will add the glory, or will add that glitter to your answers. So you need to be careful with how you structure, how you write your subheadings, how you box your answers, how you bring out the alignment with respect to the bullet points that you're writing, how you divide the paper into table, columnar format, how you add diagrams to the paper. All those things matters. Okay, I'll be showcasing them, but keep keep a note of this. And then coming to the word limit, see, you shouldn't be writing more than 80 words per page. Okay, I'll be giving you a statistical analysis of answer writing. I'll be giving you a mathematical part of it. I'll be discussing on it further. But to start with, you shouldn't be writing more than 80 to 100 words in a given page. Anything more than that, you'll be suffering from time management and you'll not be able to complete the paper. So restrict yourself to 80 words, and it can be managed with having a prepared structure for the answer beforehand. Okay, and then coming to minimum 5-6 revisions should be done, and that's a prescription. Okay, it's not a matlab prescription, matlab you must do it. Without that, believe me, you can't cross that 260 mark. You need, see, the target should always be 300 plus. Okay, whatever the difficulty of the paper, whatever the situation, 300 plus should be the target. But nonetheless, since UPSC is very fluctuating with respect to its marking scheme, you should always the top 1 percentile marks. And for that to happen, you need to do this 5 to 6 revision. And bluffing is fine, I discussed, as long as it's smart. Okay, and then clarity of answer with precise information is rewarded than over content in mains. Okay, so you should have those short notes. And what do you mean by short notes is the organized, structured with few keywords based content. Okay, and mostly I'll be giving this to you people. Please, please, please make use of it. I'll be discussing them wherever you have discussion. Like, since I'm a doctor, my handwriting, so this is a disclaimer, my handwriting might not be that legible. If you have any difficulty in understanding the notes, first of all, I'll be discussing them in the class itself. But if you have any doubts, you can get in touch with the Pragnya Academy, and they will forward those questions to me, and I will respond to them. Okay. So generally, I tend to make transformation. I'll tend to write it as this. Any Asian, that anything that ends with TION, I'll try to substitute that with this N. Okay. So these kind of things will be there in my short notes. So I'll be discussing them later, but be aware of that. So you need to make up this short notes. That's the most important message that I want to convey. You need to make up these short notes which are just keyword based, which are organized. And what do you mean by organized? It should have a ready-made introduction, it should have a body, and it should have a ready-made conclusion that you can use in the examination. If that question is going to be repeated in the actual examination, people should just ace it, write it, replicate it, and you should spend the extra time available, okay, with the bouncer questions. And then intro and conclusion is the only differentiator, and You should bring uniqueness with templates. Okay, this is most important. Remember, everyone who is well prepared with anthropology, they tend to write a similar body or the similar content for the body. But the introductions that you can write, the conclusions that you can write will differentiate your copies from others. And that will create that first impression as I was discussing earlier. So you should be very careful with that. And you should make your introduction and conclusions very, it should sound differentiating. It shouldn't be very routine, very common, which can be written by even a 10th standard or 12th standard student. It shouldn't sound like that. It should be like a very unique thing. I'll be discussing what can be done in intros and conclusions. We'll look at ahead. And you can, if you can use, and I'll be giving you common introductions, common conclusions, which can be used across a given topics. Please make use of it. Okay. So it must be used in a paper. And then you should use tree diagrams wherever possible. You'll get extra marks. I will show you what do you mean by tree diagrams later. And then you should develop your capability to smash the bouncer questions even with knowing basic 1 2 words about it. For example, if you know hardly 1 or 2 words about a given question, for example, this year I think paper 2 may there was some question on rural economy, some anthropological perspective of rural economy or something. And most of my fellow competitors, after the examination was done, they were saying that, bro, this felt like a GS question. I couldn't write much on this and all. But if you have that conceptual understanding, if you have that list of common thinkers, which can be used across different questions of a similar theme, you can still write a better answers than your fellow competitors. So, for example, in that question, I remember using something called as Oscar Lewis' rural cosmopolitanism. So, such using of such concepts, such uh, thinkers will definitely give you a good marks, and that's how you need to face the bouncer questions. Okay, you should develop the skill of acing the bouncer questions. But believe me, bouncer questions won't decide your ranking. It won't decide your stature. So bouncer questions matlab, even if you don't write much in those bouncer questions, it shouldn't affect your marks if you are acing the rest of the paper well. Okay, if you're doing the rest of the paper well, bouncer questions shouldn't matter much. And coming to the factual questions, you should write. See, some questions are matlab, highly factual, and they are like highly overloaded with factual content, and you need not write them, you need not attempt them as long as it's compulsory, like except in that question number 1 and question number 5, you need not attempt those factual questions. This is a smart way of dealing with the paper. Will Then there is something called as framework based approach. Till Till now, whatever I've just said, this is just the learnings that I've noted down from the test series and the answers that I was writing. But I'll have a detailed discussions on the answer writing going ahead. Till now, are you having any doubts?
So, no, sir.
No, sir.
Are you learning anything new? Is it engaging for you people?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So going ahead, there is something called as framework-based answer writing. See, believe me, this is what has helped me in answering better applied questions or a difficult questions this time. And I believe answer writing can be reduced into these frameworks. Like if you and what do you mean by these frameworks and everything? We'll be discussing it as we go on. But if to just give you an example, if there is a question in GS1, okay, if there is a question on, for example, say, uh, what's the impact of British economic policies on rural India, or any question for that matter, just considering this question, if you can understand what rural Indian economy entails and what British economy policies were, okay, if you understand these two keywords, if you can divide it into different components, okay, and rural Indian economy, as you know, will entail what? It will have agriculture, commercialization, or commodification of commercialization, commodification, and then you will have local industries, handicrafts, and then you will have uh, the reverse migration because the industrialization by British were not that great. So reverse migration back to the rural economy. So if you can have this understanding of rural economy, if you can divide that into a component basis, and if you have understanding of the British economic policy, all you need to do is permutation and combination between these two components. This is how you should learn. Okay, this is, and if you can understand at this level, now You need not memorize much for any. That is why your preparation for the mains is complete only if you have done this componential analysis of different syllabus keywords mentioned. Only if you have done it, then only your preparation is done. Otherwise, believe me, you're not well prepared. Okay, so you need to understand this. And for similarly for everything, archaeological anthropology, there's a structure that you need to follow. If you know that, you can write an answer for anything that can be asked from that part. Even for, see, generally students face difficulty in primates, fossils, and archaeological anthropology. But if you have a common understanding, now you can still write a very good answer just based understanding these frameworks. For example, if you understand what all Neolithic culture entails, you can write a very good answer for anything, any specific Neolithic site that will be asked in the examination. We'll discuss as we go ahead, but this framework-based understanding is crucial, and that's what I wanted to share it here. I'll show you the examples later. So there's a dimension or a structure for every answer. So identify it while revising and never miss it with a standard content that must be there always. Cut the crap while remembering mercilessly, but identify marks multipliers which are unique and specific. Never overburden yourself. That is, simply add few points, but multi-dimensions of structures is important. We'll discuss this later. Thinkers you can explain thinkers via books or works themselves as subheadings. We'll come to this. I'll just show you the answer directly. That will be much better. So this is what I want you to keep note of. You should have this must-haves in all questions and concepts without exception. So you should make it visible in your answers. See, the only mantra or the only question that you should be asking every time you write an answer is this: will it impress upon the examiner? Will it create that wow factor? That is, where is the wow? This is the only thing you should be answering while you write an answer. Without that, believe me, whatever you write, everyone else is also writing, and you will not be getting that edge with respect to the marks. Okay, if you want to get that competitive edge, every single word should be used as a currency to gain those marks. If any word you're writing is not adding any extra, is not giving you any extra marks, then there's no point in writing those words. Okay, evaluators are already fed up with evaluating multiple papers, and they won't feel like giving you those marks. Okay, so keep this in mind. Every time you write an answer, you ask yourself, where is the wow? Okay, will it impress upon the examiner? That should be treated as a mantra. Make sure to consolidate your notes within 1 month. So now I'll be giving you these short notes within 1 month, so use them, make use of it. Daily 5 to 6 questions you should write by yourself. Okay, even if required in an open book wise, that's okay to start with, to break down this hesitancy. But later on, you should switch back to writing based on your memory and in a time bound manner, and you should make it in a Q&A format, and you should prioritize value additions. So what is the target to reach? You should be able to minimize the entire content, okay, in that 5 to 6 days gaps. That should be the target. See, whatever notes that you are making, whatever the courses that you are attending, whatever the materials that you are referring to, the ultimate aim is you should be able to revise the entire thing in one, you should revise them 1 or 2 times entirely in those 5 to 6 days gap. That should be the target. And anything, okay, anything that doesn't add up to this, you shouldn't be doing that. Do only those stuffs that add up to this. Otherwise, please don't do it, because otherwise you'll be just wasting your time. So keywords are correct, proper exam, and if the keywords are correct and proper, examiner won't even read the full answer. So that's the importance of the keywords and the right vocabularies that you need to use. And preparing against, see, as I was mentioning, there are few haphazard topics. There are a few topics which are very difficult to memorize, like archaeological, fossil, and so on. So you need to prepare against such rote learning and haphazard. One thing is, you shouldn't be learning by heart. Okay, you shouldn't be learning them by heart, the individual points. Okay, if you start learning the individual points and you should start memorizing the individual points, okay, precisely, then that will be like a most stupidest mistake that you'll be making. So instead of that, you should always remember, Okay, because remember, you're studying for anthropology, you're not studying for biology, you're not studying here for an archaeologist, you're not here, you're not writing a paper for an archaeologist, you're writing a paper for anthropology. And anthropology means this biology and archaeology are just a part, okay, not the whole of it. So you should just understand the trend, you should just understand the wisdom of the given topics in general and use them to write and apply the answers. I'll be showcasing that when I come to archaeological anthropology and fossils. Okay, we'll be discussing more on this later. But remember this point now. Only with a proper understanding and some wisdom, you should be tackling this issue of rote learning, the difficult topics. And you should constantly revise. Obviously, everything, matlab, few factual, there's a threshold that you need to reach. Okay. This is how I look at mains answer writing. Okay. UPSC has set a certain standard. Okay. And that standard you need to reach, and certain threshold is there, knowledge ke threshold is there. Like for example, like as you might seen, any electron, only if it crosses some energy threshold, then it will move to a next orbit, right? Similarly, UPSC has set a some threshold, okay, with respect to the knowledge, some factual content, and some standard or the skills that needs to be shown in the answer writing. Only if you cross them, you'll be awarded marks. Some knowledge wise, some threshold is must, okay. Without basic knowledge, I'm not saying that you need not memorize anything, but only in difficult topics you can do some jugaad. But otherwise, there is some factual things you must memorize them, and that's why the 30 minutes daily factual revision exercise is a compulsory thing that you must do on a daily basis. Always first do the simplest way and then add on. Avoid too mechanical and factual revisions like racial classification, because you can't bring much uniqueness in those type of questions. And to test of preparation is your ability to explain the concepts for the beginners, difficulty, multiple revisions. This is fine. See, this is what I'm saying. If you just do 10-year questions, okay, even if you do from 2024 till 2014, okay, or 2015 for that matter, you'll have 560 questions at your hand. So first memorize them. First solve those 560 PYQs and memorize them. This is the Brahmastra. Okay. Without that, whatever you do, doesn't matter. So last 10 years is very crucial. Last 10 years ka PYQ based model answers is very crucial. And most of those model answers, whatever the notes I will be giving them, whatever the notes I will be sharing, you'll be getting them in that in those notes itself, because I've written everything in a Q&A format itself. So you'll be getting them. But otherwise, for other questions, you should be doing this. So you should be solving those 560 questions. If you solve those 560 questions, believe me, scoring about 260 plus marks is not a difficulty, because if you're writing it already by your own, na, almost 60% or even 60% to 70% of the question paper will be PYQ based. Hardly 20 to 30% of the questions will be bouncers every year. Okay. So 60 to 70% will be PYQ based. So if you can ace the 60 to 70% of the questions on every year, you can just manage this 20-30% of the questions. You can still write very good. Okay. So doing those 560 questions is important. Both 280 with completion of the papers, you can score easily 270 plus marks. And then order of return on investment. This is what this is important for how to select. Okay, how to select questions. This is another skill that you should be aware of. How to select, how to make the choice, because obviously UPSC will give you choices for 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 4, and 6, 7, 8 questions. Right? You need to write 4 questions out of these 6 questions. Right? 3 questions out of those 6 questions. So you need to make those choices. And how to make that choice? You should be writing questions where you already have the content, which you have already solved or prepared for. Then you need to choice select the physical anthropology questions. Then you need to select archaeological anthropology questions. Then you need to select social cultural anthropology questions. This should be the order. First is the questions where you have the content, where you have prepared for, or where you have solved. Then you need to attempt physical anthropology questions. Then you need to attempt archaeological anthropology questions. Then you need to attempt social cultural anthropology questions. Because social cultural anthropology is least priority because it has a lot of subjectivity in its answer. Whereas physical anthropology, archaeological anthropology is very, it's like mathematics, like 2 plus 2 is 4 in there. So, and even the marks that you'll be getting is higher. So you should need to prioritize this. Whereas in paper two, for paper two, I believe that tribal anthropology should be prioritized over Indian anthropology, because tribal anthropology may I think you have a scope to showcase your emotional side, like that you really and truly care for tribal people, that you truly care for marginalized and weaker section, that can be showcased there. And if you can showcase that emotion aspect of yours, now generally the evaluator will be impressed. So for paper two, you need to prioritize tribal anthropology over Indian anthropology. Although I also agree that sometimes tribal and Indian anthropology tend to give similar marks, but if you can write more on tribal anthropology questions, it should be fine. See, I have made your cultural anthropology a least priority, but nonetheless, social cultural anthropology constitutes 50% of your anthropology, because most of the concepts that you are writing in anthropology comes from social cultural anthropology part. And what I mean by social cultural anthropology includes both the theories part, anthropological thoughts section, that is syllabus point 6 of paper 1, and also the other social cultural anthropology part, like religion, kinship, family, all those stuff. Okay, it is highly conceptually oriented, so you need to cover them nonetheless. So you should cover your notes, memorizing first, interlinking and applying, then revise it more instead of additional content. See, what do toppers do? Okay, what differentiate toppers is this: they do not follow any shortcuts. They are always stick to the basic, genuine sources with maximum times of revision without worrying much about bounces. Okay. And you're here to be a topper, not a teacher. So don't overdo, but revise. Have a solid, concrete notes and memorize it, apply it. Okay. That should be the order. Notes, handouts, and revision 5 times. I've repeated it multiple times so that I'm repeating it multiple times so that it is etched in your mind. Okay. This is what you need to take forward from today's session also. And you need not worry much about the current affairs with respect to anthropology preparation, because current affairs hardly adds only 10% of your marks, that too only in few questions. Okay, only if there's a death of a very famous anthropologist, or if there is any excavation site which is discovered, then only it comes into consideration. So otherwise current affairs has a very less scope in anthropology, but still, if you can integrate them into your answers, you'll be okay. And never let any phobia of any topics kill your ease of memorization, because if you can have that understanding, if you can identify the trend, the frameworks of a given topic, you can still write them very well. Okay, don't have that phobia. And in physical anthropology, what I have observed is 9.5 to 9.8. I hope you people are aware of what this 9.5 to 9.8 syllabus has. Have you gone through the syllabus? Are you aware of the syllabus properly, students?
Yes, sir.
Race and racism, sir.
Race and racism, right? Racism. And 9.6?
Yes, research populations,
Population variation and
genetic
genetics.
markers.
Right. 9.5 and 9.7 is ecological, 9.8 is epidemiological, all the stuff. You must be remembering them, right? So generally those topics tend to give higher marks, and 9.1 also in physical anthropology, and 10 to 12 obviously in physical anthropology. Fossils also nowadays it's the most asked. Definitely you'll be getting a question from fossils. And unit 1 of paper 1 is important, and especially primates and human fossils, right? This is some important topics. We'll be discussing them as we go ahead. In this exam, learn to bluff smartly. This is another skill that you need to learn. See, you might be wondering why sir is speaking like this, because see, I just want to speak like a senior, okay? Otherwise, I can just speak like another topper, saying you that I did this memorization of all the 3,600 pages, all that stuff. I can just uh, uh, speak highly of myself, but that's not the point of this course. This course is meant to show you the secrets of toppers, how they try to prepare, how they try to ace the examination. So please understand, although I'm trying this openly, I'm trying this in a recorded video. This is important. Having the skill of bluffing smartly is important. Otherwise, you can't actually, because see, there's a limitation to what you memorize also. Okay, if you can have this idea, like for example, what do we mean by bluffing smartly is having those ready-made templates. Okay, ready-made templates for introduction, ready-made templates for conclusion. Any tribal related question, if they're asking, if you can have this, you can still write instead of wasting your time in the sitting in the examination or thinking for an introduction and conclusion for 1 or 2 minutes. If you have them ready made, you can use them, and that is called a smart bluffing. And also with respect to fossils and all. I'll be teaching them going ahead. So if you can have that understanding, and if you can just, there's a structure, okay, if you can just replicate that and write an answer, you can see you'll do well. And if you have that list of common thinkers for given topics, and if you can use them as sprinklers across your answers, it'll be rewarded marks. So those things you should definitely learn, okay. And then no need to be then you're studying this all fine. Skill of dynamic thinking application is fine. Hard memorization, presentation of practice is half game done. And but I already told you hard memorization is still important. Anthropology is highly conceptually oriented, so you need to memorize them and then save time to tackle. Okay, fine. Best answer is always about show off. Okay, this is why I asked you to remember that mantra of where's the wow, where's the wow. Okay, because if you're not showing off, because as I've told you, answer writing is the only way evaluators are trying to know you. Believe me, I always felt that answer writing is a confidence building measure, okay, where you're trying to build that confidence with the evaluator. And to build that confidence, the only medium that you have, or the only opportunity you have, is to write the answers, irrespective of whatever you might have studied, whatever number of hours that you might have invested, whatever number of books you might have studied, only those things that you write in the paper is reflected, and that will create a picture of yourself in the minds of the evaluator. So always have this question in mind, where's the wow, and try to show off in your answers. So you must showcase your unique understanding and points. You should condense answer writing very rich and succinct content. You should bring in the uniqueness in terms of the content with enhanced clarity. See, how do toppers get the marks? They get the extra marks because they write some extra content, they do some extra presentation skills, they also do the 5 star, like as I told you, see, 5 star dishes, they're charging higher only because the packaging is done well. With although the substance is the same, the packaging is done well, and that's the importance of the presentation. And this is the mathematical thing that I wanted to discuss with you. I told you should be writing 80 to 100 words per page, okay, and you should be writing 15 to 16 lines per page. Okay, this is all mathematics. Please note it down. 80 to 100 words per page, 15 to 16 lines per page, and every line should have 5 to 6 words. Okay, and you should have the clarity. You should have a flow and a structure in what you are writing. Clarity with respect to the demand of the question. Okay, you should have a flow and structure. We'll discuss. I'll show you the answers also. That is important. So 300 to 400 marks is repeated. This is what I meant. 60 to 70% of the question asked in every paper is from PYQ. So if it is asked from PYQ, it means that it is repeated. So out of 500 marks, 300 to 400 marks is 350 to 400 marks is repeated. Okay, this is in under your control. Okay, rest 150 to 100 marks. You, even if you can just manage it well, you can easily score 280 plus. Okay, this is how you should think. Okay, this is a mathematical breakdown of the entire paper. Okay, 6 is the average marks they tend to give out of 10. And if you're writing best answer, what I have heard from the fellow evaluators and the toppers is that even they'll be getting 7.5 to 8 marks is also given, but generally 6 is the average marks. And for 15 marker, 9 is the average mark, best is 11. Okay, for 20 marker, 12 is the average marks. Okay, and 15 is the best marks. Okay, this is the average and the best marks that I'm giving, just so that you can have this idea. Okay, 6 is the average marks, 7.5 is the best marks, 7.5 to 8 is the best marks out of 10 marker, 9 is the average marks, 11 is the best marks for the 15 marker, 12 marks is the average, 15 is the best for the 20 marker. But you should target is to have not to score the 7.58 or 11 or 15, but your target is to score minimum 6, minimum 7.5, minimum 12, because law of average works, my dear students. Without law of average, you'll not be getting those 275. Believe me, see, I've scored this time around 1,001 marks in my mains, in my whole mains plus interview. Okay, and I've scored 927 or 928, I believe, in mains, just mains alone, and that's a pretty much a very good score. Why? The only reason I was able to score this is because I've scored average marks or just above average marks across papers. Okay, like for example, in paper 1 I have scored 112, in paper 2 I think I have scored 116 or 117, paper 3 I don't know why I've scored less, I've scored only 83 or 84, paper 4 I've scored 120 again, essay I've scored 120, and here 135 plus 140. So everywhere I've scored just that above average. And if you're just scoring this above average, and if you can do it across papers, you'll be getting that, you'll be breaching that 1000 plus marks. And breaching that 1000 plus marks is very crucial to get into IAS. Okay, so that should be the target. So minimum 60% of the marks. So you should target minimum 60% of the marks, not 100% of the marks, or not the extraordinary answer. And write minimum 500 answers by the time you write mains. By the time you write actual mains paper, you should have written minimum 500 answers. Okay, and this I've told you. And each paragraph should have only 3 to 4 sentences and 30 to 40 words. Okay, breaking down. If you're writing in a paragraph manner, like mix and match is fine. Most of the questions you should still be writing it in a point-wise format, but paragraph-wise is also fine in tribal or in some Indian anthropological questions and all. And you should be writing only 3 4 sentences in a paragraph and 30 to 40 words in a paragraph. And underline only one time per paragraph, not more. And this all things will be saying. Okay. No need for complicated and overweight content which cannot be reproduced in the examination. So you should only memorize what is relevant. You need not overdo. This is because I have suffered from this personally. That's why I'm telling it again and again. Don't overdo, but don't underdo also. But at the same time, don't overdo also. Keep it simple. Clarity of thought and relevance is most important than bombarding. Produce the content as an organic answer with heart. Okay. Write every answer with heart, with interlinking and applying, not just as a mechanical points. If basics is clear, and with respect to physical anthropology, if your basics with respect to genetics is clear, 70% of physical anthropology is mugging proof. You can just write, okay? So address the demand of the questions. This is most important. See, whenever you read a question, right, you must address the demand of it. You shouldn't be fooled. See, generally what happens is generally students tend to think that they're addressing the demand of the question just because they're repeating the question keyword in their answer, they believe that they're addressing the demand. That's not the case. You should understand the tone of the examination. You should understand the directive word, what is being asked in the examination, in the question, and the demand of the question, and you need to answer them. So address the demand of the question. Look at the question deeply. Okay, always have the skill of appreciating the question. Okay, there is a reason why UPSC is asking so and so question every year. So try to appreciate the question. Okay, only when you appreciate the question, you'll understand the question. Only when you have conceptual understanding of all the topics of the given syllabus point, then only you can appreciate the demand of the question. Otherwise, you'll not be able to understand the demand of the question. So be mindful of that. Address the demand of the question. This is the first point. Like while writing an answer, I'm saying you see a question, then understand the demand of it, then you write an introduction and conclusion. Remember, introduction and conclusion ke liye you'll be awarded 25% of the marks. Okay, 75% of the marks will be awarded for the body, and 25% of the marks will be awarded for the intro and conclusion. So you should be giving 25% of the space of your answers, okay, to the intro and conclusion. But nonetheless, as I already mentioned, intro and conclusion will act as a differentiator. It will have higher weightage, not just this 25%, it will have a higher weightage. So you should be writing a unique introduction and conclusions. So you should be writing around 45 words for a 150 word ke liye. 45 words should be given to intro and conclusion. 65 words should be given for intro and conclusion in 15 into 50 word question, that is 15 marker. And in 20 marker, you should be writing 300 words, and you should be dedicating 80 words for intro and conclusion. That is the breakdown. And intro is very crucial for evaluators because it will set a basic tone. Okay, who set basic marks. And generally what I have heard from the evaluators is, again, it's a confidential thing. No one knows exactly how the evaluation is done, but based on my interaction with multiple evaluators who had the experience of being a UPSC evaluators, they have said that uh, once evaluator read an introduction, right, they will make that will create a first impression in the minds of the evaluator, and they will like subconsciously they will give a mark. Okay, they will give a mark to the paper copy. So that's why introduction is very crucial. So you should focus more on that, and you should work on introduction and conclusion. Body, don't very much. It's almost same. No point chasing behind. And with respect to conclusion, you can identify, for example, if you're writing about a thinker, you can just Google about their obituaries. And what do you mean by obituaries? Obituaries means someone would have spoken very high of a given fellow anthropologist, during their death time. So just quote them, just use them as your conclusion. There will be book reviews available, and there are general templates I'll be giving. So make use of them. And you should mug value additions and diagrams. This is the only thing you should be mugging. Okay, believe me, this is not like a school examination. This is not like your degree examination. UPSC is a different ball game. Please understand it. It's not like you're reading some designated book and there will be questions asked from that designated book. It's not the case. Only syllabus is designated here, but sources and everything is not designated. You should, so there's no end, there's no boundary, like it's like a formless, like an amoeba. So here what you should prioritize is, you should prioritize mugging this validations and diagrams for a given topic. Only those things you should you should mug, and rest all you should have the skill of writing on your own, of writing on your own based on your own words, not memorizing it verbatim and reproducing. Okay, you should be just writing on your own. Okay, so there are around 500 plus scholars across both paper one and paper two that you need to memorize. And then no need for dates. You need not memorize the year of the dates of the book. Okay. It's humanly impossible to memorize all those things. But scholars, it's a must do things. Value additions, case studies, those are must do things that you need to do. And no need to mention scholars for the sake of mentioning without substantiating. Instead, write something comprehensively about one or two scholars. This is another mistake that students tend to do. Like you will be bombarding them with the scholars. Instead of doing that, write one or two scholars, but write little comprehensively. Instead of just writing, just mentioning the scholar's name, you should also write one or two points substantiating them. Okay, and scholars only if they ask something unique or different. Okay, once you satisfy the demand of the given question, no need for extra efforts unnecessarily. Theory without scholar is an orphan and marksless. So you should always, whenever you're writing a theory, you should bring in a scholar. For any question asked as bouncers, use already learned thinkers and theories. Always modify the content such that you specifically are addressing the demand of the question. This is what I was telling. You should have this, learn the skill of using the already accumulated knowledge, already having the content. Okay, you can't write you can't be preparing for every question that will be asked, right? So have this skill of modifying the already known content to address the demand of the question, that you should be learning in a daily answer writing that we'll be doing now. And time for bounces can be managed only when other questions are handled well, and other questions can be handled when only when the PYQs best models are already available and you have memorized them well. So strictly adhere to the time limit and word limit. I've already discussed them here. 150 words, 250 words and all. Even the time, 7 minutes, 11 minutes and 15 minutes, 14 minutes. So you should be conscious of this time and word limit every time. And distribution of the space for the sub questions. See, generally what happens is UPSC is not asking a single question nowadays, right? It will be asking you multiple questions. Like it will be asking what is so and so, what is the critical evaluation of this, and what is the contemporary relevance. So there will be multiple subparts for the same question. So you should distribute the question assuming that every part of the question has a equal marks. Sorry, because UPSC doesn't divide the marks for each subpart. So you should assume that for a 15 marker, if there are three subpart, you should assume that each subpart will be awarded 5 marks, and you should write marks. You should distribute the space in the answers also in the similar fashion. Like for example, if you're writing 3 pages for a 15 marker, you should write the first subpart in first page and second subpart in the second page and third subpart in the third page. That's how you should divide the space also. So the distribution of the space is directly proportional to the distribution of the marks, and distribution of the marks should be seen as, should be assumed to be equal. Okay, whenever it's not mentioned, use your own words. Using own words is fine as long as understanding is good. Okay, this is the single most important quality of any toppers, that is they apply their knowledge. And this is another skill, like interlinking, like applying this. Minimizing and maximizing, or minimizing and magnifying, is another skills that toppers have. What do we mean by minimizing is, if if a 15 marker, okay, you have a content for a 15 marker or a 20 marker, but UPSC has asked it for a 10 marker. So you should know how to minimize it and write it within the 10 marker space. Similarly, you might be having a content for a 10 marker, but UPSC is asking it for a 15 marker or a 20 marker. You should have the skill of maximizing or magnifying. How to do this minimizing? You should write only shorter version of everything. There is only, see, you should be bringing the entire structure. Okay, I'll be showing it now or like later. You'll be writing the entire structure, but you should be writing a very shortened version of it. Okay, you shouldn't discount on the dimensions. There should be as many dimensions as possible, but you should be shortening it with respect to the content written in the each dimensions. Okay, even if you write one liner quality sentence, that is good enough. Okay, that's how you need to minimize. And with respect to maximizing, you should be extra elaborate on the single point. Like if you're writing if you know a single line, you should be adding a two more line based on that. Like again, this can be done only with the understanding, only with extensive reading of the syllabus. Okay, only then you can have the skill of maximizing and interlinking and all. And you should, that's why you should read the whatever the notes that I'll be giving diligently, and make use of it. So you should be writing, for example, maximizing one is you're elaborating. Okay, you're elaborating. Instead of writing it in one line, you elaborate and write it in two lines, and then you write it in a paragraph format instead of writing it in a line point format. Okay, I need to explain specific, like in generally for a 10 marker you might be just writing a case study or a thinker. Otherwise in 15 marker, if they're asking it for a 15 or 20 marker, explain it further, those specifics. Okay, and instead of writing one example, use multiple example. Instead of writing one diagram, use multiple diagrams. Bring in relevance. Okay, you can see, you can always add these relevance application as a constant subparts. For example, if you have a very less content for a given topic and UPSC is asking only a single liner as a question, only one part as a question for a 15 marker or 20 marker, you yourself can create this relevance as a subsection, okay, subheading, or a application as a subheading and write something under that. Okay, that will definitely increase your marks. So this is the skill. This art of maximizing and minimizing is extremely important, and you need to understand that. Okay, and you can bring in this difference with a similar concept, like you can bring that contrast with different concepts. This is how you maximize, by elaborating, by paragraph wise writing, paragraph wise writing, by elaborating on the specifics, by adding extra examples, diagrams, by making it more relevant, by writing a subheading for a relevance or application, or bringing in the contrast with similar concepts. Okay, this is what you should maximize, right? Then coming to definition, any definition that UPSC is asking, it should be clear. The meaning should be understood, meaning should be explained, or meaning should be reinforced. For example, some topics ke liye, the meaning is very obvious. The word itself will be giving out on the meaning, but you should reinforce it with your own words. Okay, and believe me, every topics will have, for that matter, every GS paper. For example, if you're writing a history answer, to make it look like an history answer, okay, there are certain tricks that needs to be used. For example, certain value additions that needs to be used. For example, any history answer, to make it look like an history answer, you should be bringing the chronological time scale or history specific factual content. For example, places name, personalities name. Okay, and also a book. For example, there is a Shashi Tharoor's book on the dark. I don't remember the name of the book, but there's a Shashi Tharoor's book on a British colonization, and you can use them as a template for a conclusion. So these thinkers, these quotes. Okay, these are the few things. So similarly for different subjects, there is my Telegram channel which you can follow. It goes by the name Sachin BG AIR-41 Method to the Madness of UPSC. There I have shared a sheet. Okay, as a cheat code sheet. What makes a history answer look like an history answer? What makes a economy answer look like an economy answer? So you need to follow it. Similarly for anthropology, there are certain terms, certain vocabularies that makes an answer look like an anthropological answer. So you should always be mindful of that. And that vocabulary generally will be a concepts or will be a theories or will be a keywords. Okay. So you should make use of vocabularies and bring them and reproduce them in every answer that you're writing. And with respect to the case studies, FW means framework. Okay. This is another shortcut that I use, framework. Examples, keep it as recent and as famous as possible. Don't use something which is very unknown, very remote. Okay, try to use which is very famous so that the relatability will be there, and examiner also will give you good marks. Okay, try to make it as relatable, as recent, as famous as possible. And with respect to the contemporary application and anthropological relevance, this I've already discussed. And with respect to diagrams, see, these are the any UPSC answer, any anthropology answer should have these content. You should have anthropological vocabularies like concepts, theories, keywords. You should have a case study. You should have a frameworks. You should have examples. You should have a contemporary application or anthropological relevance. You should have a diagrams. You should have a flow chart. FC means flow chart, and it should have a schematics, multiple tools, and maps is also fine. Maps also should be included wherever possible, especially for 20 marker. and you should have a classificator schematic, that tree diagrams and all that, and you should have topics interlinking. You should also have ready-made institutes, for example, Anthropological Survey of India, Archaeological Survey of India. There are some certain journals. Okay, if you know what these journals are meant for, you can still use them in your answers. Okay, I'll show them. Like, that is important. And then you should have this current affairs or GS based interlinking. This is what is important. And as we go ahead, I'll show you like what all should be there in what makes an answer look like a social cultural anthropological answer, what makes an answer look like a physical anthropological answer, what makes an answer look like an archaeological answer. We'll discuss it as we discuss the syllabus points. But in general, this is what your answer should entail. Okay, any anthropological answer should have all these elements. For example, physical anthropology should speak of evolution, primates, fossil chapters, always adds thinker's interpretation, fossil evidences, evolutionary significance. This we'll discuss later. Okay. And give time, be creative as possible, but proportionally and memorize. Brainstorming and this is another skill, students, that I want to tell. Like I mentioned that you should be spending 30 minutes for a factual based revision and 30 minutes for a daily answer writing. And if you're not for till the end of this course, anyway, you'll be writing two answers. I'll be providing them the model answers also. That is fine. But otherwise, over time, even if you're not able to write 5 to 6 questions every day, just write 2 questions every day. Plus, for the rest of the 4 questions, you try to brainstorm it. Okay, brainstorm the question, just write down the answer framework. Okay, what you will be writing in an introduction, just a keyword based. What you'll be writing in a body, how you'll divide into multiple subparts, what you'll be writing in the conclusion, what diagrams you are including, what case study you can bring in. Just brainstorm. Okay, even if you don't write, it's totally fine. If your speed is not an issue, even this doing brainstorming session is important. Actually, if you ask me, this brainstorming session is what helped me develop those frameworks, develop those hacks in answer writing. Okay. So please do this exercise of brainstorming a given question. Just take a PYQ or take whatever the questions available in the market. Just brainstorm it. Brainstorm, what do you mean by brainstorm? This is what it is. Like answer writing, answer framework. Brainstorming what you'll be writing in introduction, body, every other element. I'll be writing down this and I'll be sharing it with you as an image. So you ask Pragnya Academy to for this image. I'll be sharing it in a proper. I'll be writing down, enlisting it, be sharing it as a cheat code. So use that. Make sure that your every anthropology answer has those elements in it. Okay, and then so this brainstorming should be done, and you should be without leaving. Okay, for every topic you should be doing it, and if you do it, you'll learn the skill of writing answers for even a nearby topics which you don't have much content for. And you can you can better your structuring, you'll better your reproduction, you'll better your application if you do this brainstorming. Okay, and also help in maximizing and minimizing. That's the importance of brainstorming. So this you should be doing. And uh, as I've already told you, archaeological part, physical anthropology, and theoretical will give you more marks than anything else. Be mindful of that. Never be scared with any questions. Whatever asked can always be attempted by whatever you have already studied and assimilated in the mind. So don't be scared by questions. Don't be scared by the bounces. For example, even this year, paper two, when I saw the paper, initial 5 minutes, even I was scared like just like anyone else. Okay, I thought, what kind of a paper is this? Because I was hoping to score a good marks in paper two. It was my strength actually. But once I saw the paper, I was scared. What is this I'm facing? But later, I sat there and I just analyzed the paper and I could come up with the skills, whatever I had learned for these years. Okay, so don't get scared just looking at the paper. There's always a solution to any problem. Just be mindful of it, and whatever asked, you can always attempt them with already known content. You just need to learn this of structuring it well, brainstorming it well, and writing it in a framework wise manner. Okay, this I already told you. Just see, this is the common. I've just included the common conclusion templates that I was telling you. Right, when man tamed fire, he tamed himself. This is a unique conclusion. Not everyone will use this, and this can be used in anything. For example, if there's a question on biological and cultural factors in human evolution, this is a ready-made conclusion for that, for that in 1.4 topic may human evolution related question may, you can, in most of the topics that we'll be discussing, this can be used as a This can be used as a common conclusion. So you should have such common conclusions. Okay, it's not we who domesticated plants, but it's other way around. Culture created man, and man creates culture. So such common templates can be used. I will be giving them. So please make use of them. Okay. And next, coming to so these are the this is with respect to the strategy part of it. I've gone very detailed about all this. I've given you the mathematical interpretation. I've told you what to write in introduction, conclusion, how to write, what all to be written in a single page, number of lines, number of words, what all elements it should have, everything. Any doubts that you have now?
No, sir.
Are you enjoying the class? Is it is it adding any value to your preparation?
Yes, sir.
We'll go to the challenges generally aspirants tend to face. Okay. Generally, they don't have these short notes for all the topics in form of frameworks. So that is why they won't be able. As I told you, you need to have those. You should have those short notes so that you can revise 1 to 2 times in those 5 to 6 days. Okay. If you don't have them, it's of no use. So this is one challenge. If you don't have short notes for all the topics, you'll not be doing well. So this is a challenge. So you should be having short notes. Then you should have those list of value additions like thinkers, common tribes with diagrams and all. You should have any topic or notes learning, that's fine. Then you should have Ember and Ember. See, this is another book that I recommend. Okay, you should be doing this Ember and Ember, irrespective of whether whatever standard textbooks that you will be reading or not reading. Ember and Ember is a must read because you'll get a proper holistic understanding of anthropology as a discipline. You'll get a taste of anthropology if you read Ember and Ember. Okay, so please do read Ember and Ember, especially and do the missed out topics. Okay, and then current affairs validation should be there. You should also integrate test series, model answers, and selection of questions is crucial. See, to tell my own experience, to even I could have scored 150 marks in paper one. Okay, I was not able to do that only because my choice of question in paper one was bad, especially the last question that I made, the 50 marker subset. Now, uh, instead of going, if I remember correctly, instead of going for a karyotype question, I went for a blood marker, ABO blood marker based question, and that is where I missed out. Okay, and after writing that 10 marker, I realized that I have a poor content for these set of questions, and I had to make that. I made that choice in a hurry. So selection of questions is very important. Be mindful of it. And I told you already, selection of questions, like you should always choose those questions which you have already prepared for, which you have already have a content for. Then you should go for a physical anthropology, archaeological anthropology, thinker, theoretical questions. Then go for social cultural anthropology in paper. Okay, that should be the order. And students don't memorize well, so should they won't remember and they don't apply well. So this is another challenge they face. So you should have that 30 minutes revision every day. And time management is another thing. Like what I have heard from my time management was not an issue for me, but from what I have heard from other fellow aspirants is they have this issue. For that, again, time management will come only if you practice it well. Like if you are practicing it in a time bound manner, like if you're writing, if I'm giving you a 10 marker, you should try to write it in a 7 minutes time bound time, 11 minutes for a 15 marker, and 14 minutes for a 20 marker. 7, 11, 14. So you should always be mindful of it. And every week, what I'm trying to say is every week you should, for example, if Pragnya is conducting any test series, please enroll to it and try to write test answer, proper sectional test. Okay, on a weekly basis. Every week you should be writing some sectional test. Okay, that will help you with time management. If anyone is facing the time management issue, go for a sectional test. Otherwise, just doing this daily answer writing sessions is also fine. Then so you should be completing 10 marker in 60 minutes, 60 to 70 minutes, then 15 marker in 65 minutes, and then 20 marker in 40 minutes. That's the time limit that we'll discuss later. And then anthro X factor content. Generally, students don't have this wow factor or X factor in their answers. So you should always showcase those X factors. You should show your merit as an anthro student. Okay. Then no revision, like lack of revision, lack of applying, don't have sufficient content, don't have different dimensions. Okay, and examiners love dimensions. Okay, what do you mean by that? I will explain it while I'm giving you model answers. Your answers must be memorized in terms of dimensions only. You should have ability to summarize. Okay, and then answer writing frameworks you should have. Then questions with less content, structuring questions with less content. This is when you have less content, you should have that skill of maximizing. I already told you that you should learn. And you should also build narrative with all the different aspects known without missing and memorizing. Memorizing is another important thing. Generally, students don't do that. Social cultural anthropology, you should bring in unique content and presentation. Okay. And then making general questions. See, and generally some questions feel like from a GS questions. It doesn't look like an anthro questions, but it's your responsibility to make it into a anthro questions. And I've already discussed you. What makes an anthro anthro is these elements that I discussed, okay, which I'll be sharing as a cheat code. These are the things, okay. These are the things that will make it look like an anthropological answer. Thinkers, theories, case studies. Okay. So you should theories, concepts, thinkers, case studies, cultural evolutionary aspects. So you should bring them into your answer that will make it look like an anthropological answer. So should do that. Also, you should practice diagrams, especially for the fossils, for maps, tools, archaeology part mein, for other, for example, human genetics may also there is a diagrams involved. Application of anthropology topic may also there are diagrams. So you should practice them well. And you should always add this contemporary and also start using those AI tools. Okay, these are the general challenges that students tend to face, and you should be mindful of these things. Okay, and we will discuss the topics copies and as we go ahead. This is just a table that I have prepared.